pretty cold night out there. We'll open with a quorum check, and we have 4. Mr. Barnacle is not with us. As far as committee updates, CPA was scheduled for this Monday night and was canceled due to snow and will be on the 9th. As far as Trails Committee, we'll hold that off because David is not here. Open Space, anything from Lakes Advisory, Eric?
The first meeting for next year will be sometime in March. It hasn't been scheduled.
Sometime in March, so, okay. All right. November 5th minutes. Do we have a quorum for that?
I don't think so, because that's the one that Eric and Steve missed. Dave wanted to hold off a couple meetings ago. Couldn't do them last meeting, and we're going to have to wait
Okay.
until next meeting, I think.
So
for
let's
those.
hold off on that. How about November 19th?
Yes.
We do have a quorum for that. Do I have a recommendation?
I move we accept the minutes of November 19th.
Second.
And we have a second? We have a couple seconds.
Can't have too many.
Yep. All in favor? Great. So we're down to, now, you want to jump to, under public hearings, you want to go to old business?
Well, right,
To-
it's not a public hearing, but, right, skip public hearings and go to old business.
Okay, we are going to DEP file number 300-0771, 36 and 38 Goodrich Road. Mr. Gunn, how are you? You'd like to?
Cold and wet.
Well, that's,
36, they're over 38.
why do they have it on here?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll take it off.
I think the permit had both numbers, but, right, maybe it's just 36 now.
Am I the only one here tonight? So far.
So far,
Well, yeah,
Oh, okay. Before I get mad and leave, I would say Merry Christmas. Don't get mad. The whole dog get mad, right? There you go. Okay, I like that.
that's not true.
so just to provide a quick summary from our last meeting, Mr. Gunn came in to our November 5th meeting. We talked about his outdated permit that's still open. It appears there's some outstanding conditions, including the original plan did show the removal of some decks by the water with some replanting. We did do a site visit prior to our meeting on November 5th, noted some erosion down by the water on the facing the house on the right-hand side. Immediately after our meeting, Mr. Gunn called me the next day. He had called McClure Engineering, had a site visit scheduled with them. I went out and met with both of them on site, went over, what was kind of going on with the erosion. Did find that catch basin by the road, which we didn't see when we were out there because we weren't really looking for that up there. It is on the neighbor's property. Did note, the erosion coming down from there. That catch basin is on the adjacent properties, the adjacent property.
You're talking about this right here?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. Since then, I've talked to that property owner. He did have a permit to install that. I forget what the date was exactly. I have it with me. It appears that it probably needs some maintenance, probably needs some more riprap added to that, et cetera. I did send the property owner the plans and the permit. It was actually a permit that was issued to the previous property owner. I think they had to do Title V when they were selling the property, put that catch basin in. So I gave him that information. The gentleman actually did stop in today for a different reason, said he's will be getting in touch with me soon. So I think we can easily kind of resolve the issues that are going on with the road there by making sure they have a maintenance plan for that, cleaning out the sediment in that, and maybe adding some riprap, which will be a big improvement. But when we were on the site, we noted that we could probably do some things maybe further going down, either on his property or the adjacent property, to kind of help manage that as well. We also talked about the deck removals and some of the changes that had taken on the project site. So since then, we received a draft plan showing the removal of a couple of the decks. I did send that out in your package. This is the new plan that came in yesterday. Similar, the only thing different, I think, that is it the note on it. Let me zoom in here a little bit. It might be too much. That there's a note on it to replant those areas. But Pete, if you want to take over at this point, kind of.
Sure. So originally the deck removal was
a little more extensive. Mr. Gunn would like to keep a little bit more of the deck than originally proposed, so we cut that back a little bit. It's still about 10 feet on each side, and basically just revegetating the area where those decks are and repairing or doing necessary repairs to the existing decks as they need it in the areas where they're going to keep the deck. Otherwise, there's not much to it, yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, just to refresh your memory, going back to that original plan, let me zoom in here. I mean, it would have, what was originally shown on here was a little more, it's quite a bit more extensive of decks to be removed. I think that this, what we see here, was to remain. So they're taking out a portion of this, and then we'll be leaving the upper deck there, so.
So what portion are they taking out, 10 feet on each?
Is that what it ends up being, 10 feet on each side?
Yep.
Is that 5 on each side, or?
Or 10?
10 feet on each side, so
What was the
10 feet
portion
from
that
each
you
property
removed
line.
from that?
From the property line?
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know what
Originally, it was probably like 20.
20, yeah.
Do you know how big those side decks are, Pete, on there? I didn't,
The what?
I'm
Because I noticed it says required setbacks here, where it was going to originally be removed.
Right.
And so now we're allowing something that's outside of the required setbacks.
I mean, I checked with the town planner on this, if there was an issue with, when he went through zoning board for that. We didn't talk about the setbacks on there, but she did say that the lot coverage was already over, but he did reduce it, so he was okay with the lot coverage requirements, because I wasn't sure if this was just a conservation issue or if it was some other approvals as part of that. So she seemed to think that there wasn't any concerns. I didn't specifically ask the question about the setback on the side of the properties there. It was more, she was saying there, it was about the lot coverage. But the lot coverage exceeded either way, but he did reduce it, and that was fine for their permitting.
I'm just
So,
wondering if that was
yeah.
part of the original consideration for.
It was.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was part of the original consideration that those decks be removed. Didn't have anything to do that I remember with
Can
lot
you,
coverage.
can
It
you
was
also
the
show the plan, I'm sorry.
The
Go ahead.
planting
Yeah,
plan
no,
one?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was approved? Yeah. It's the upper corner, yeah, there we go. So that was the plantings that were supposed to be done.
That was,
originally,
yeah.
in order to allow them to keep the existing decks down below.
Right.
Well, and it also looks like there's no deck here because this was all supposed to be plantings. Right?
Right.
Just says restoration, ground cover, most area, I don't know, see planting legend. So this was all supposed to be planted.
I believe the septic tank is in that area.
Yeah, I understand that you have a leach field here now,
Yep.
which wasn't really going to be, that was just going to be yard anyway for the most part, except for, I don't know if these are existing trees or if this was supposed to be planted.
I think that's part of the proposed plantings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, you're not going to be putting trees where the leach field is. But it does look like that upper deck didn't exist in this plan.
Or the two side decks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why this would be approved, because there's extensive plantings all over, but particularly close to the lake, and substantial, not just shrubs, but
Right.
trees. There's substantial trees going in there.
So what are we looking at that's before us now, different than this?
Well, let's go in order. I know. Let's, you finish up are you done with your presentation?
Yep.
Okay, all right, go ahead, Steve. I just want to make sure.
I just got lost there.
Yeah.
In terms of this plan and the other plan that we had before us.
So I think the purpose is to get an idea if that change would be allowed and how that change would be allowed, whether it would be a new notice or if it would be a enforcement or something like that. So basically trying to get a idea of how you would like Mr. Gunn to proceed if that plan is, or
Okay.
Well, let's go back.
what we can do to improve that plan or whatnot.
Can I say something? Or no?
Mr. Chairman.
At the last meeting,
Go ahead, yeah.
at the last meeting, Mr. Goodman said, get an engineer, show us what you got now and what you propose to do and present it at this meeting. Here I am.
Right. Well, I think the question is pretty simple. Are we interested in accepting the changes, or the changes in the plan to leave the decks down next to the water? That's the essence of what we're talking about, isn't it?
And the, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Well, and no, I wasn't here at the last meeting, so I apologize if this has been repeated, but all of the stonework that was done, was that permitted as part of the original plan? And so all the impervious areas that were up there, that was okay from the...
With the changes down
With the
below.
change, yeah.
Becky, can you show the updated, so there's actually 3 iterations of the plan. There was the original plan that was approved that didn't have the leach field here.
Yeah.
Okay, and that had all these plantings. Apparently,
Which one do you want? Sorry.
so you showed us the original one, then you showed us the updated one, the one that was approved as an update.
Well, these two are the original plans.
Right,
This one I showed before, which was part of when the permit came back, which shows that he moved the septic system and had walls in here too.
right. So I want to be clear that change was approved or was not approved?
Septic?
Yeah, moving the septic down here and having all of these walls here,
Yes.
because that wasn't in
Septic
the
was
original
approved.
plan.
Yep, this plan says that it was approved and that was the public hearing, so.
Okay, so they did come back and have this stuff
Right.
added.
There is some changes to that with the walkway coming down along
Right.
the side. That's.
Right,
that's
this wall
shown on
doesn't
these.
wrap around like this,
Yeah.
and this, of course, doesn't show the plantings,
Right.
which presumably that shouldn't have changed other than anything on the leach field itself. But it does show the decks removed,
Right. And then that's a,
and no deck here.
Right.
Yeah. So how do we want to handle this, what do we need to decide in this? Because we just need to decide if they,
Well, I think the first thing we could go to is deciding if we accept the new plan that he brought in with the decks as they are today. And then decide on that and then go from there. Otherwise, we're going to be here.
So on this new plan, there are no additional plantings?
What,
Or are there?
Just where the decks are.
the decks that were there have not, well, yeah.
but it says here, native restoration seed mix and mountain laurel. So that's what would be going into those.
In two
No
10-foot
trees.
sections.
Whereas before, there was extensive
Right.
replanting of trees, various species. Yeah.
Okay.
and this deck here. Oops, sorry.
Right. That wasn't approved that wasn't on either of the
It
previous
says
plans.
existing wood deck.
Right.
And what is there was a considerable amount of debris, I'll call it, that was underneath the decks. What was the plan for that? Because that was another concern that I had when I was at the property. It looked like there was, for lack of a better term, salvage underneath underneath the decks.
I don't know if
Well,
there was a plan for that.
the question again, please.
When we did the site visit 3 weeks ago, I guess it was, as we were looking at the erosion that was coming through, and I guess that we've determined that that came from the other property, but there was a bunch of, I generously call it salvage, disingenuously call it junk,
Yeah.
that was just thrown underneath.
It's rock and blocks and so forth.
Well, but there was also other stuff that was plastic and,
Oh,
you know.
well, anything that I can take out of there, I plan on taking out of there. Okay. The rocks and cinder block and so forth, what the other owner had, are there. That's probably why he put the decks over, because there was eroding, so he put the decks over. That's where we're at. I didn't put those decks on there. Those decks were there probably long before you even got your permit to operate. They were there a long time.
Sure.
No.
Oh, I'm not arguing with that.
When
I'm just trying to rectify, they were supposed to be removed, which I think was part of your permit, and there was a lot of plantings that were gonna be in there, which was again part of your permit, and now we're being brought to us another plan that has minimal plantings, I would say.
Well, that
and-
tree right there is here. That's there.
Well, that's a tree, and if we go back to the original
Now, the rest of
plan,
this in here is 10 feet, and it's on a hill. Whatever it'll take, I'll get in there. Over here, again, whatever it'll take, I'll get in there. There's trees here, big trees here. Now, I don't know what will grow in here and what won't grow in here. That's why I said laurel, because laurel seems to grow every place. And believe me, this stuff will take hold to, you won't be able to walk down there because it'd be so much woodsy area. I don't know what you call it. Ground cover, let's put it that way, for lack of a better word.
Well,
This right here is there too.
Becky, if you could go back to the originally approved plan.
The one that shows the restoration or just the removal of the decks?
That one, I think.
This one?
No, the one with the
With the-
planting on it there.
Yeah.
This one here. What we don't have a deck here, we don't have a deck here, we
And
don't have a
here.
deck here.
Yep.
In order to meet the plan, go back to the other one,
Which one?
the one we were just on.
This one?
The final one.
The new one?
Yeah, we would need to remove this, remove this, remove this, and do the plantings. Is that,
Yeah, particularly since this is the 25-foot
Yeah.
right here. And if this was coming before me, the original plan, I can understand completely why they had all of those plantings and, substantial trees added to this area, because that's what we're trying to protect. And what I see now is none of those trees, you're going to add a couple of shrubs. We still have the problem with all there's debris under here, but what I observed was the water going through the deck and hitting the bare soil that's underneath here, and that stuff is eroding.
I'm sorry to disagree with you, okay?
Okay.
I do disagree with you.
Okay, we had this, I don't want to fight with you, and we had this
Okay,
discussion
we're
before.
gonna get that way if we keep up with this.
And I understand that you have erosion coming down from here.
Yeah,
I can see that now.
I don't have erosion coming down from there.
Well, it's coming from your neighbor's property,
That's correct.
yeah. But I saw the bare dirt underneath this deck.
Impossible. You and I go there, you show me bare dirt, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
well,
There's growth under there. There's weeds and stuff coming through the deck, for Christ's sake. And you're telling me there's bare
I
ground?
have to, disagree. As
There's wood.
as the junior member and the least educated one
We'll
on
both
this,
come down.
I was the one who pointed it out.
Yeah, there's wood under
it
there.
was
There's no kind of
concerning.
crap under there.
It was concerning to
Right.
me because it was onto the dirt, but it sounds like this was already discussed, so.
I think the issue here is not, the issue here is simple. We have an approved plan that was not executed. Do we want to continue to execute the plan, or do we want to back off and allow the decks that are down there to remain? That's the essence of what we're talking about right now, with 10 feet being taken off on either side. That's the yay or nay that we're dealing with right now.
Would that be a courtesy to let them come back in with, for another public hearing? I mean, we can't just say, yeah, go ahead and do this. This is a permit, this is,
Well, I think that the logic of it would be that we would give them guidance on the plan, and then they would come back with a final plan. But we have to give them firm guidance on where we stand, because we don't want to waste their time.
that's the purpose of this
Yeah.
discussion. Okay.
Or there may be some additional modifications that you could see to this plan that would address some of your concerns.
Well, that's,
Maybe
yeah.
it's not, exactly what was shown on the original plan, but it's closer to what you're looking for.
Becky,
Deals with some of the erosion.
can you go back to the original plan? Because what I'm confused about is this deck doesn't even,
Yeah.
that doesn't even show on the plan.
So it is there, there's a leader.
Well, I know, there's a
up
bunch of
top.
lines
I
here,
think that's
but
it there.
that's here, this was the house line. Yeah,
Okay,
it's this one.
existing house, stairways, associated retaining walls, patio, and the upper deck to be removed in their entirety. Okay. So it was shown, it just, but it says it was to be
Just
removed.
wasn't labeled.
Yeah. Do I have a proposal from anyone as to how we proceed? My feeling is that we gave extensively on the development of this plan, and that the only thing we looked for to protect was the 25-foot buffer. And it appears to me that we're not getting that at this point in time. So I would ask that they come back with a plan that removed the deck and the deck, and came up with a plan for plantings within the 25 feet of the water's edge.
Can I ask a question, Ed?
Sure.
With this deck here, would you be willing to leave us a portion of that, since it is further from the water, or would you like,
It's within
could
the
he?
25 foot, no touch.
Yep. I'm just asking, so we can give
But it's there
him
now.
feedback. If he took out, say, the portion over here where we know that it's steeper and it's eroding a little bit, would you have a concern with leaving a portion of this, and then, the original one here, provided he took out more here and restored? I'm just asking that, maybe that's a compromise that you could see that would address your concerns. If not, then, you can make that clear too.
So my concern is precedent. Like, we had a plan, it was agreed to by all the parties. All of that stuff was to be removed. And if we were to allow it to stay, then we're basically opening ourselves up to other people coming back, not executing the plan, and
Okay.
pointing to this as a case. That's my concern.
Okay. You don't even have the earliest plan, 2005. You guys put those things on there, okay? You would not give me a permit to build unless you said, I want this, I want this, and I want this. This is all the committee did this, okay? I wish he was here tonight.
I am the least
Steve.
adversarial one that
No,
you're gonna find.
but he was the one
I wanna work.
who sat
with-
here,
I wanna
and he
work-
said,
I
well, I
understand.
won't give you a permit, because you want something, we want something. That's exactly what he said. So he said, you take this off, you take this off, you take this off. All because I want to move the house 20 feet off the road instead of 30 feet off the road, okay, which would squeeze everything down. Now, those decks were there before I was here, but you guys decided, the whole committee here decided, that's what I want.
I understand that your perspective.
And otherwise, you
and
wouldn't
I'm-
approve the damn drawing.
And it's and we're reliving history.
From here on
We
out,
need
I've
to
been
deal-
having nothing but problems with you guys
We
since
need-
2005.
Okay. We
Okay.
need to deal with,
Here's the plan.
Going
I was
forward.
told last month to come here, submit a plan, and you guys would approve it or not approve. Now, what's he gonna do? You don't wanna approve it? That's it. From here on out, I'm done. Okay, we'll go legally, because those decks were there. You guys forced that lines on there, not me. The deck wasn't even mine. It was
All right.
there. grandfathered in long before I got there. Now, you're gonna tell me, I want this, and I want that, and I want this, and so on and so forth. Well,
Okay, I understand you're frustrated.
I'm trying to give you something.
I'm just trying to say, from my perspective, I want to make sure that we're working with everyone, right?
Don't sound that way.
However, we had an approved plan that whether you felt like you didn't agree to it or not, it was the plan that was signed off
Yeah,
on,
because you
right?
stuck it up me. You
and
wouldn't
that-
give me a permit unless you did it.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's,
All right, I've said my piece.
all right. Gentleman has asked us for a yea or nay on that plan. So I'd like to have somebody to give me a motion to approve that plan as is.
I'll make a motion on DEP file 300-771 at 36 and 38 Goodrich Road, that we do not approve the plan as submitted.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
If you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay, we go to court,
Um,
whatever.
All in favor?
Everybody does not approve it.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Because I ain't taking that down. You're gonna fight me? I don't care how long you fight. I'm out of here. I've had enough of this kangaroo court, whatever you want to call it. Hope you're getting all that down. This is ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Thank you very much.
No,
Yes.
no, you can't.
Okay.
Good
You
night.
didn't ask me a question. What the
Yeah.
hell is going on?
Well, this is, we voted, we closed it, it's done.
Well, rescind it, open it up again. He wants to ask me a question.
That's fine.
All right,
You know,
Have a
I
nice-
hired an engineer to do this, and you're still kicking it up. Okay, that's it. No, give me any time. That's it. Do whatever you have to
all
do.
right, what else, what's next?
And I'll do whatever I have to do. Thank you very much. That's all. Can't get nowhere. These people, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
All right. We can go start our public hearings, need to read the open.
All right, we'll start at 6:15, public hearings.
In the interest of saving time, the Sturbridge Conservation Commission will hold all public hearings tonight for work within a wetland, water body, or resource area, and/or within the 200-foot buffer zone to a wetland, water body, or resource area, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, MGL Chapter 131, Section 40, and associated regulations, and the Town of Sturbridge Wetland Bylaws and associated regulations. We will not be reading the newspaper ad. Prior to opening the first hearing for each project, the applicant is to submit proof of notification to abutters within 200 feet of the subject property line and proof of legal newspaper advertisement. These items are not submitted, the public hearing will not open. Additionally, prior to the start of each public hearing, we will announce the location of the project, the applicant, and the applicant's representative. If any of the visitors have not legibly signed in yet, please do. Also, if any visitors are recording this meeting, please let us know. Thank you.
Thank you. 6:15, or a little bit beyond that, request for determination of applicability for 50 Hall Road, maintenance and repair of existing stormwater system. P. Watson, Environmental Regulatory Compliance Officer, representing OFS PTEL, owner.
So this is a project which we discussed at our last meeting. We could not open the public hearing because they didn't provide the legal ad. I do have the legal ad, and I do have the abutter notification receipts. So we did receive those. Mr. Watson did come in, we had discussion, told him that I didn't think it was necessary, that he came back to this meeting as you discussed it, you asked questions, didn't appear you had any concerns. So the point of tonight is to make a recommendation for a determination of applicability for this. So I'm going to recommend that, do you want me to remind you what the project scope was, or do you?
Yeah, just remind us real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So this was the existing riprap at the back of the parking lot where it comes down the slope. There's an intermittent stream. Yeah, so existing riprap was put around the drain, and the drainage swale was put in place about 2000, 2001. Soil and debris have clogged the riprap and prevents water from draining into the drain, the catch basin. The planned work would include removing the soiled riprap, rebuilding the old manhole top of the catch basin, and placing new riprap where the soiled riprap was removed. A contractor that has looked at the work is proposing to use a mini excavator to do the removal and replacement. The old riprap will be moved from our property by the contractor. So a couple of things that we had noted of question and concern was just the extent of the removal, which we did discuss about where it would end, where you can tell that the riprap is and the vegetation has started growing, a lot of wetland vegetation in there. A couple of things that we talked about for conditions would be to have like a pre-construction meeting, which I usually do with a contractor prior to that, so we can establish that limit of work and make sure he clearly understands how they're doing it. Not necessarily a time of work restriction like we would do like during the year, but that the work it's probably like a 1 to 2 day job, but that it's timed obviously around rain events, because we know that that is an intermittent stream that drains down there, so that could carry a lot of water and cause a lot of downstream impacts if it's not timed appropriately. And then, one of the things that we could include is the minimal maintenance that they need, so they could go in and usually someone will go in with a vacuum and they clean out sediment buildup like once or twice a year, allowing them to do their minimal maintenance on that. But also, again, recommending that they do an operation and maintenance plan for their whole property, because they don't have one. They have a lot of resource areas there. So that would just be a recommendation moving forward in the future. So with that, I would recommend a positive 2B and 5. 2B is that we're not approving your resource area delineation. 5 is that it's subject to a local bylaw. Negative number 3, subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, but due to the nature of the project, can be conditioned to avoid any impacts and doesn't need a formal orders of conditions for the project. That's all.
Okay. All right. Discussion.
None.
The one point that I would like to make, that I made at the last meeting, is that I do not want them to decide that the entire length of the swale
Correct.
going down along the parking lot
Yep.
is suitable for cleaning out to,
Yep.
that it's to be that 12-foot area around. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, okay. No problem.
That's the limit of work,
Yeah.
establishing that with
Yeah.
them.
They've always done exactly what they said they were gonna do when we worked with them, so I have no problem. Motion to approve?
I move we approve it with the addition of what you just said.
Second.
All in favor? All right,
All right, and
Sign it.
sign that, please.
what are these up above stickers? Somebody else signing there, or?
No, I just do that so we remember to fill that out afterwards,
Oh,
like
okay,
a
yeah.
certificate of mailing. Just trying to confuse you.
You did. It's pretty easy, huh? Oh, 45. Now, remind me, I have something under old business.
Okay.
Where do you want to go now?
Well, you can read the 6:30.
The 6:30 is, oh, okay.
Yep.
All right. 6:30, notice of intent, DEP, file number 300, TBA, do we have a number?
Nope.
198 Lake Road, raise and rebuild of a single-family home. B. Smith is the owner, represented by Ziegle's, existing grade Inc., okay?
So I received a request from the representative yesterday for a continuance to our next meeting. So this will be a public hearing on our December 17th meeting at 6:15.
All right.
Approve that request.
All in favor of extending it, yeah. You got that? We all approved the extension.
Okay. All right, so we have to wait, it's not 6:45. Letter permits?
All right.
86 Paradise Lane. We went out there on our site visits this week. This was the gentleman who came in front of us last time for the public hearing for 84A Paradise Lane. He wants to add like a paved berm apron onto his driveway to prevent any road runoff or changes from the next door's neighbor's new driveway from causing runoff going down his driveway. So we went out there, we looked at it, didn't appear to have any concerns for it. One of the things we noted out there was just making sure where it started and ended. He did have this with his file that does show the start and end, so I can reference that in his letter permit that he follows that. And I did speak to him today. They actually do, you can tell we looked at that culvert over there. They do have like a little road association. They do maintenance on that and refresh the riprap and everything, clean it out, et cetera, out there, so.
Good.
And I wouldn't anticipate any
Yeah.
concerns. It's a letter permit application.
Okay, so do you want us to sign it, or?
No, you just need to vote on it if you approve
The
adding
one,
that.
any questions? The one I have, is DPW aware of it?
It's a private road.
Yeah, but I'm sure that it's plowed by DPW, and he's putting a berm on the road.
Okay, I can have him notify as one of
Yeah,
the conditions.
Just make sure that he notifies
Okay,
Jackson.
yep.
Anybody disagree with that?
Nope.
Makes sense.
All of a sudden, they were wondering why the plow fell off.
We didn't do it. I'm
What?
sorry.
Now, if it gets plowed into oblivion every year, I
Yeah.
guess you'll have to come back, or are we just gonna say maintain the berm?
We can say that.
I would suggest that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep,
Because
fine.
it will get destroyed.
Ready to vote?
Yep.
All in favor? 92 South Shore Drive.
92 and 94 South Shore Drive, those are both dead trees. It came in the same day we had to post the agenda, so I didn't know what I was gonna be looking at when I went out there. So they don't need to be approved at the meeting,
Right.
so I went out there.
Were they dead
Thursday
from old
afternoon.
age, or were they dead because somebody cut them down?
They cut them down, yeah.
They died after.
Gypsy moth.
have to ask, don't we?
So those two, right, I was able to approve those, so. With your packets, I included, with your packet that you got via email, I included the DEP reg changes. They're not really, there's not many of them, but I did print them if you want them. I didn't know if you got to look at them or not, but I just thought it was important
I
to
did.
just kind of note them. So, most of them it's procedural. So the first one is, the issue when permits are appealed in the process, it sounds like some commissions aren't, you can e-file these now, which we do, and then you can mail them, you gotta mail them certified, some people aren't mailing them certified to DEP. So the issue is, DEP is not learning about the orders until after the appeal deadline for themselves too. So they're changing the regulations to make it so that way, they're gonna require conservation commissions to submit orders and determinations, online through the e-file process. And if it's not possible for some reason, that it's done by certified mail return receipt. So not a biggie, we e-file them. And one of the issues that comes up with the e-file, well, we don't do determinations right now because it's not an option on their website, but it sounds like they'll probably be adding that. One of the issues is that, that comes up also is that, the date used on orders is the date that we approved at a meeting, and sometimes with their e-file process, it's the next day. So in those situations, if it happens that way, the latter date would be the date for the appeal. Not a big deal, but something that you guys should be made aware of.
Okay.
Second change is clarification when people receive a butter notifications in regards to, does that automatically mean that a person can appeal a project? So they're adding language to clarify that, and they're also including a cross-reference to the part of the regulations that explain who has such standings for appeals. The last one is they're updating the wetland plant list in the regs to the more current list.
Yeah.
That's all.
The only concern I had with the current was, it said 2016 current,
Yeah,
and it's from, Army Corps.
well, that's probably current for them, so,
That's what I was afraid of.
yeah.
Doesn't the state have anything more current than that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think we just used the Army Corps list. I don't think we probably have a state adopted list, or maybe they'd use it.
I don't know.
I think it's just the Army Corps
I never
one.
thought about it before this.
Yeah, so they have, if you want to go, you can go to a hearing,
Nope, I don't want to go to a hearing.
pass.
Steve, you want to go to a hearing?
Just what I need to do.
I looked at one, I got an answer from both.
I knew you were talking to him, but I thought I'd answer anyway.
All right. Anybody have any problems with them? I don't either. All in favor? Great.
So, I'm gonna go to old business, 13 Old Hamilton Way. That is the letter permit we had at our last meeting where we approved most of the requested trees. There's quite a few. There was 2 oaks that we requested to wait until spring. I was, after the meeting, provided with, let me find out where I have it here. Provided with a couple additional photos of the one, remember there's the one right behind the house? The one by the shore, they offered to wait till spring to look at that one. The one right behind the house, I guess the property owner was interested in having it removed now. The arborist did have a couple of photos that he wanted to provide. The arborist said, it's not probably a concern. I mean, a lot of the trees need a crane to come out. That one, he said, probably have to go up and climb it anyways due to the proximity of the house. So it's not like he has to have another crane come back out in the future. But they wanted me to provide you the photos that they had prior of the tree to see if you'd make another decision on that tree. So I said I would.
This is Joe.
Yep.
So he's waiting outside the meeting, after the meeting, handing you photos?
No, he came in to discuss it afterwards and he had the photos and I was like, well, they had them before. So you can see back here, this tree coming up here. There's a lot of dead wood on the top portion right there. This is the one by the water. And then you can see it here too. So there's leaves on it, but there is a portion of dead wood on it. So
That one has already been taken down.
this one?
Yeah.
Nope.
That's almost touching the house.
No.
That is not a tree we were talking about.
No.
Yeah, what's the tree that, it looks like it's almost touching the house. It's
just
a
the
little
view.
ways. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little ways away from it.
It's not this one right here?
No, Steve and I looked at this. I mean, my impression was that it was still a fairly healthy tree. I understand what he's trying to say. I mean, this is, the beginning of, the leaves are changing. This one may have dropped its leaves earlier than the other one. So I would prefer that they leave that until next year to see,
As you originally requested.
as we originally requested with the one.
I agree, Steve. I don't see an urgency.
Eric?
I got nothing.
What?
I would agree with the rest of my.
Yeah. I do too. I agree with him too.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Yeah.
Now, did they have a reason that they want that down immediately?
I think they're having everything else come down, so wanted to take it down at the time. However, the arborist said it probably can't because of how close it is to the house and the crane reaching. They probably would have to climb that anyway, so.
Yeah.
So we're not really imposing any kind of a hardship on them.
No, and you approved that all the dead wood could be cut now, so at least if,
Okay.
if there's no loss of limb concern or something.
If
right.
there's no hardship, then
We are to 9 Holland.
Old 9 Holland.
We're at 6:45.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone's coming in
Almost, yeah.
for that, so if we want to wait a
Alright.
minute, we're not there yet. 9 Holland, I have it on here as old business. So I'd issued a letter after our last meeting where Mr. Cody came in summarizing what was discussed at the meeting and that he was to come back with a restoration plan. In the meeting, discussed coming back for this meeting with a restoration plan. He did call me today, and he said that he also plows, so he's been working and will be continuing to work today and wasn't going to be able to make it to the meeting this evening. They are working on a restoration plan. He said they are working to address some of the stormwater issues on the site, mostly which he's saying is things related to Route 20 where those catch basins that we saw before are. So they are working on that. Natural Heritage Program finally issued a response because it's Mount Purdy Habitat, and I copied them on our enforcement order. There was a few outstanding things that they're requesting. So I can give you a copy of the letter if you want to keep it. They're asking for additional things that were originally outlined as their
We need one more.
conditions. And they're asking for information prior to December 30th to bring this project back into compliance. So most of what they're asking for is related to stormwater management on the project. They had also asked that, the area was supposed to be seeded with an approved conservation seed mix by us. Develop a plan to manage on-site stormwater. Said plan must be acceptable to Conservation Commission and submitted to Division for review and approval. That's what hasn't been submitted to them. So, hello. Yeah, they're saying that they're in violation of the Mass Endangered Species Act. So they have some things they need to give to them in addition to address some of that outstanding stuff on their permit, so. All right?
Yep.
They will be coming. I did tell him our next meeting is December 17th. In our conversation, he did mention a couple things that he wants to do. There's that pipe that's coming out by the garage in the back there that we saw. He wants to remove that and kind of create a berm there to kind of keep any water from going over the bank into the stream. I said he should really put everything in writing on what he plans on doing and, present that to us and give it to us in advance of the meeting to have a conversation and also the restoration plan as discussed, so.
Okay.
One of the questions that came up last time was what about the adjacent property that they cut all the trees down?
Yep. So I copied that letter to that property owner as well. And then I'll be talking to town council tomorrow on a different matter, and I've brought that up to ask on how we handle those type of issues, where a private property owner wasn't involved in that process. So hopefully we'll have some input from them.
Because we need a restoration plan for the adjacent property too,
Uh,
regardless of.
Yeah. Do we have a placeholder, so, because we haven't talked about any kind of violation, fine, penalty, restoration plan?
Yep, so actually in that letter, we said that we gave them, and actually in the last meeting, gave them the date to come back to this meeting with a restoration plan. And said that fining could occur or additional enforcement activities if they didn't meet the date for today for that restoration plan, which obviously they're not meeting because he said he can't come to this meeting tonight, but we haven't received anything else either, so. We hadn't given them a deadline for fining, so that established.
He did
a
call
date.
you? He did call
He
you
did call me today,
today?
Yep.
Said he wouldn't be able to make it?
yep.
All right, in light of the fact that they called, and I can understand the plowing, but I would like to say that if this isn't presented to us in the next meeting, that we start fining at that point,
Okay.
unless anyone wants to be more aggressive on this.
No.
No,
Okay.
good.
Are we all in agreement on that?
I think so,
Yeah, I think we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let him know that that's going to happen.
Yep, okay. All right. In addition to addressing these items too.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Did you get an extra copy of that? Because we didn't have enough.
Oh, yeah, I do have 2 copies.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Usually
Take
don't even
one
want my
home.
handout,
Take one
so.
home to Scott, huh? Scott's following along, huh?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
All right, we are now at 6:45. Amendment to an order of conditions for DEP file number 300-1033, 11 McGilpin Road. Modification of footprint of a single-family home and relocation of driveway. R. Berthume of Countryside Builders, owner.
Are you here for a particular project?
For that.
For that one as a butter? Okay, I didn't, okay.
Yeah.
I was told someone was coming in for this. Do you want to wait a few more minutes, or do you want?
You mean somebody from the owner?
Yes,
Yeah, that's what we were looking for.
Right,
yes.
exactly. I think we should wait a little bit.
Okay, I mean, I know that parking, some people had to park across the street, so I don't know.
Well, what else have we got to do? We can, Holly can stay here and the rest of us can go home.
Yeah.
All in favor?
I mean, I do have the materials, I do have the materials to open the public hearing, so.
Hi.
Yep, every time.
Yep.
He didn't tell you the right place?
Well, he did, but maybe I misunderstood what he told me.
Is there parking behind this building?
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's not many spots here though, right? Across the street, yeah.
Are you here for 11 McGilpin?
Yes.
As in a butter, or?
No, I'm here as I'm representing.
Oh, okay, okay.
We're actually at that now, so if you want to come on up. I just ran from across the street, but,
It's all right.
so if you just introduce yourself.
Sure, I'm Colleen Bercume.
So just to provide a quick summary, Colleen is.
Yep. I'm
Randy-
representing.
Yes, yeah, his wife. So, this is the revised plan which we received. So, just to go back on the history of this is a permit that was previously approved in April with the previous property owner. He was given permission to start work on the property. He met his pre-construction conditions, started to do some of the work. He sold the property. There's new property owners for the 11 McGilpin portion of it. The other gentleman is still the property owner where the sewer line will have to go through. I was approached in the conservation department as the new property owner was interested in potentially making some revisions to the approved plan. So sometimes revisions are minor in scope and can be approved at a meeting. Sometimes they require an amendment, which is a more formal process under DEP to go through. So when the plan came in, for the last meeting, we didn't have time to, do the, public process for the amendment process, so we put it on as a minor change. The gentleman reviewed it, thought that some of the changes, especially with the driveway, was kind of significant and required in a formal amendment to go forward. So we've received the abutter notifications, the legal ad's been put in the newspaper. I have receipt of that already. It's been provided in advance. So what we're looking at for the changes here, as we kind of discussed a little bit at the last meeting, the limit of work line has not changed. What they are doing is they're going to be moving the driveway further up the hill away from the wetland. Remember I can pull up the last plan too, but the last driveway came in right at the edge of the limit of work here, and there was a tree here which was of concern. The limit of work line was right up against that and the driveway. So they came in requesting, to move that away from the wetland, which would appear to be an improvement as it's further away. They did go to DPW and get a driveway permit because there was some question before about, is there a sight line issue? DEP did go out there. Didn't appear to have a concern with the location of that driveway.
Who went out there?
Either
Both Mark and
Butch?
Butch.
Okay.
Yep, met Randy up there.
Yep, so they have a driveway permit for that location. You can see on the plan too, this wasn't included last time. We didn't have the details of what that would look like. That's the culvert that DPW is requesting to be put through that swale. Remember, we have the swale with the drainage that comes through. That was one of our requirements to make sure that was met with DPW. And then also what we're looking at too, besides the driveway, in the parking area, both which are smaller footprint, is the house has changed a little bit. Instead of, we had a rectangle, larger footprint for the house, this one's a little bit smaller, a little different with where the garage is located. Unfortunately, we don't have, the old house and this new one on the same plan, but going back and looking at the older one, it did shift a little bit further away from the wetland too. So, which you can see the 100-foot buffer zone is here anyway, so I think that's,
Bring up the old one back, just,
right, so you can see the driveway comes in, we had a pretty big parking area. I think that was because parking was underneath the house to back out. And then, right, the corner of the house is here, so it's just a little bit closer there.
it's closer to the wetland on that side, right?
This one, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's not further away.
No, this is closer to the wetland here.
Right, the change is a little bit further away.
Correct, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
yep.
Yep.
And I wouldn't see either one of these changes as significant. I think the driveway is a big improvement for the resource area, so.
We also we had originally one infiltration
Yes.
chamber, and now we have two of them for the.
Yes, which I think is also an improvement too, because
Right.
one, you'd have to pipe that around to the other side,
Right.
so.
Okay. Go back to the other one so we don't get confused on what we're, okay. Gentlemen, any questions?
No questions.
Anybody in the audience?
Actually,
like to sp- Go ahead.
I do have one comment. I'd just like to talk about along the road, since we have you here. Can you scroll up just a little bit? There we go. All right, so one of the concerns that I had raised originally was there's a fairly substantial tree right about here. What is your plan? So obviously, the stone wall there is going to be, you're going to keep the stone wall. The only place that it's going to be broken is where the driveway is going through, right? So you're planning to keep the rest of it intact?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What about any of the trees that are along the road here?
I don't believe that there's, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to
Okay,
that.
well,
What,
my comment would be, I would like to keep any of the large trees that we have, if possible, and particularly the one that sits right here. It's right at the 50-foot from the wetland.
I mean,
yeah,
I believe what's cleared is probably what,
Oh, all the clearing's already done?
Yeah. it's
they were
already
approved
done.
to start work, so they're approved for the limit of work, so they can't clear, see how the property line's right here?
Yeah.
They can't clear on this side at all, but they did have permission to clear on this side.
So was that tree left?
That tree's still there. That's
there-
outside of the limit of work.
Are there
Yeah.
trees along the road then that were left or not?
If there's anything in front of the stone wall, but I don't know that there's.
No. Yeah, I
Okay.
guess the answer is your tree
Yeah.
is there, and
Okay.
and that's pretty much it.
All right.
But I'm not sure.
Driveway was already in,
Yeah.
and so was the holdup.
Well,
They have
that-
permission, yeah.
Okay, anyway.
You all set?
Yep.
Anybody in the audience like to speak on this?
I just
Polly,
was curious.
You're gonna have to grab a mic.
And identify yourself, please.
Polly Courier, 13 McGilpin Road. Does that drawing represent where the hole is currently? Because to me, the hole is closer to the wetland right now.
Well, the hole is probably bigger than what is needed for the actual foundation. They're usually dug bigger. So as long as the house ends up and the hole is filled in afterwards, I think that's probably part of the normal construction. They are approved to work within that limit of work
I know you
area.
keep telling me that, but yeah, if someone could make sure that it's not too close to the wetlands.
Okay.
What'll happen after everything is finished, they'll have to apply for a certificate of compliance, and at that point, Becky would go out and verify that everything is, or
Right,
we'd have
an
we'd
engineer
require an
would too.
engineer to say
Yeah.
that it's in compliance with the plan that was approved. So, that would happen. They would make sure that the house is where it's supposed to be.
But, yeah, and our permit includes conditions to make sure that they follow their permit. So if they, for some reason, someone goes in and does something that's not in compliance, they could be liable to modify their project and fix whatever problems are there. So I don't think that, hopefully, that would happen, but, you know, that's that's
And
the
the
risk.
building inspector will look at that foundation
Yep.
before they do anything.
Yeah, the whole process of building a house, every part of it gets inspected and needs approval. So if there's something
Right.
that's not right, it gets changed.
Right? The house I'm living in now, when he built it, he put the foundation in the wrong place, and Mark Lev went out there and he had to tear the foundation out and move the house back.
We've had construction on other people's property. Believe me.
Right.
Anybody else from the?
Anybody else want to speak? No? Gentlemen, do I have a motion?
I move we accept the plan.
Let's close the public, let's
Oh,
close.
you got to close the public hearing. I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Discussion? Barring none, all in favor? Now,
I move we accept the plan as presented,
as altered,
as altered. Thank you.
I second it.
discussion. All in favor?
So as this is an amendment, I did do a draft of the new orders of conditions. None of the conditions have changed from the previously approved project. The only thing that's changed is we have a new applicant and property owner, new reference to the new deed for the property, and the revised plan is reflected on here. So I did quickly draft that. I did keep the same conditions that you approved before, so I didn't know if you wanted to sign that.
Sure. One comment, though, there isn't a culvert under the driveway now.
Okay,
They filled it with stone, so it's blocking the,
okay, all right, I'll check on that and check out with,
so I'd rather,
DPW
I'm
with
sure
that
that they
and
intend
stuff.
on doing it, but I'd like them to do it now rather than
okay,
after the wetland has been.
yep,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Sorry. It was next door.
No problem. And we do appreciate actually the changes that are better for the wetland there, so.
What's next?
Can I just ask one question to get up here tonight?
Sure.
Okay. So Deborah, I'm at 25 McGilpin just for a few months. So the wetland is just in front of the property?
The wetland is the Fisk Hill side of the property. It comes all the way across the,
Yeah, there's a small intermittent stream that comes from Fisk Hill, comes
Yep.
down Apple
Yeah.
Hill, comes through here, goes under the street, and then heads down on this side. So there's probably additional wetlands in the area, but when, their jurisdiction is 200 feet from a wetland, so
Okay.
if there's ones that are 300 feet away, we can't regulate stuff from there, it's just within the 200 feet, so this is just what's closest to the
So it's
site.
coming from
So
Fisk
this
Hill
is the
down
wetland.
Apple Hill?
Yes, yep, there's
And then
some-
cutting across that lot?
yeah.
So it's
coming
not
from Apple
necessarily
Hill
in
across,
front
yeah,
of?
The house,
Right.
correct,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, because I saw, they put the culvert with the stone. I saw that, but now that's going to get moved?
What?
The driveway?
Yeah.
No, I
No.
think it's where they would
No,
like it to be.
where they already started, or where they already removed the wall is where this proposed driveway is.
That's the new location?
Correct.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they.
Okay.
Coming down the road here, what you
Yeah.
might see, this is a swale, which picks up all the road runoff.
Yeah.
Which kind of drains right into the wetland down here. So when this originally came in, we noticed that, and we asked DPW to put a bunch of crushed stone here. And we just wanted to make sure when the driveway goes in, that it's not gonna impact that flow or cause any more flow from the site going into the wetland too, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Next.
All right, all set.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I'm glad you guys came in. We liked the plan, but it needed more, it needed a public involvement.
Yep.
And it was a difficult decision, but I'm glad you came in, and this is why we had to hold this second hearing.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
did you have old business?
I beg your pardon? Oh, yeah, I did. Regarding the maintenance of, on Goodrich Road, can we send him a letter? Whoever, I don't know who he is, but you're talking to, but, I have a
Yes,
formal letter that gets, cleaned up.
yes, yeah. I mean, I have email correspondence, but I can put it in a formal letter.
Yeah, who is it?
Tony DeDalt,
Okay,
it doesn't live there seasonal, he just lives there seasonally. so
okay,
seasonal.
all right. Anybody disagree with that? Because, I mean, we talked about it. Cleaning the culvert.
Right.
So that
Yes.
permit, that's an old permit that still needs a certificate of compliance anyways, which I mentioned as well, so. Formal letter.
So,
I don't know if you want me to put this on our next meeting agenda, now that you ended the discussion, speaking of Goodrich Road with Mr. Gunn, but you do need to figure out what your pathway moving forward for that is going to be, how you want to handle the decks being there, so if you, not sure how you want to handle that. leave that to you.
put that on the agenda for the next meeting, and we will handle it. Now that Eric has got us into all kinds of trouble.
That's my goal. I'm clearly the adjutant.
All right,
Mr. Chair, I have a procedural question. I don't know when to ask this, but
Go.
might as well ask it now. So, when we make motions, I noticed that we always make motions usually to approve something, not to disapprove
yeah.
something. So this was a little bit different, and I think Eric may just,
Right.
because he hasn't had experience doing this.
You know, when he made it, I said to myself, fine. I mean, he's making a motion to not approve something.
Right.
It has to be as legitimate as making a motion to
Okay,
approve
so
something.
I didn't know if we should,
Normally,
there's a
we go to-
convention
Eric,
that
we
we-
go to the positive,
and if we didn't like that,
then we vote it
then we
down.
would vote
You
against
don't even
it.
have to vote for something that you
No.
propose.
Okay.
That would be the way that, you know, but we've done it now.
And I just wanted to know for future reference, because I
Sure.
hadn't seen that before, and I didn't know, I mean, I could have been wrong,
Yeah,
so.
and we have done that in the past,
We have
way in the past, where somebody
makes
made
a motion to
not-
disapprove.
to not approve it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it was,
Yeah.
What other kind of a motion, if, I mean, we voted, everybody voted to not approve it,
right,
but what else would we have done?
We vote to, we make a proposal
to approve.
to approve, and we get a second,
Second,
and then we all vote against it.
then we would vote against it,
right, all in favor?
as opposed to,
That's the procedure that we've followed.
So I would move to approve it and then vote against my
Right,
move to.
yeah.
and I know, and that's awkward, that's why I'm asking the question, because I'm not sure.
It's to put it on the table, to
Right.
get, you know.
Right. I'm not sure what the appropriate,
Yeah.
whether we should do it the way that you did it, or whether we should do it the other way that I'm used to doing it, but I don't think we've ever had this situation where we, all voted against something, so in that way, it's awkward to make a motion to approve something when you don't want to
You know,
approve
I'm
it.
kind of worried about the perception that gives, to somebody say, I move we approve it, then I would think that person saw something I didn't see, and or they just simply wanted to approve it.
Good point.
And
But the
that-
other thing we do is we're really careful when it's something that is really being fought over, we always make sure that they realize that they have the opportunity to get an extension and come back with changes.
Right.
That we've usually argued about the changes.
Right.
That would be going forward. This was, he definitively told us that he was not accepting changes to his plan.
Right. So just in
This
the-
one, or no plan.
So moving forward,
Yeah.
we can continue to do this, we can say, we can make motions to disapprove something.
Good.
And,
Yeah.
okay,
Right, I like that.
I just wanted to be clear.
No, that's good.
We all set? Got one to sign?
Well, originally, so we have that request for certificate of compliance for 84A Paradise Lane. This came in right after we approved the RDA, spoke to the representative for it, said that he didn't realize that it got sent to him from the engineer. And that after the meeting, the owner said, well, what about my certificate of compliance? And there was some, got lost at his office, I guess, or whatever. So it was a question, engineer went out, said, you know, it's in substantial compliance. A few deviations, there's an installation of an HVAC unit on the side of the house, a crushed stone walkway where there would have been lawn, maybe a few plantings, and some minor deviations from the planting plan. So I was going to recommend that we kind of hold off on this one and maybe, look at it a little bit more in the spring.
Oh, he's tarring the driveway now, right?
Well, he's going to be. I don't know when he's going to exactly start.
Yeah, so.
Because a lot of the herbaceous stuff's
Fine.
gone, so I didn't really know if he actually had some of that. But the property owner did send me an email over the weekend with some, information to review of what he has for additional plantings he put in. And there's a few photos from the request for certificate of compliance where you can see a few things. So I didn't know, you can still wait to the spring, take another look at it this time when things are in the growing season to see what he's got out there. Or you can review what he says he has. We can look at the photographs and you can decide if you want to sign it. So I think that will be out there in the spring anyways, due to the installation of that driveway. So.
Yeah, we've got a driveway being installed.
Yeah, I think there's a proper waiting.
And he confused Stephen as the property owner when the last time we were out there, so it's not like they've been getting together a lot.
No, it was actually Eric, I think.
Oh, was it? Was it you? Oh, was it? I knew it was.
Oh, nice to meet you, finally. Great.
All right, yeah, so we're going to wait off, we're going to hold off on the
Hold off
certificate of
until
compliance.
spring.
To the growing season
Yeah.
to see.
And until the driveway work's
Right.
done too. We can do all of it at once, right? Even though that's
Right.
not part of.
Right.
They-
I wouldn't anticipate that he'll be doing the driveway before spring, being winter, but I don't know. He could do the driveway at this time, but.
Oh, he said it was gonna be spring at the
He
last.
did say it?
Oh,
Okay,
Oh.
okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right, I just have a few updates. One thing to bring up, we had sent out that draft schedule for the upcoming meetings. Holly resent it out only till April. One thing to make sure that you noted, in February, we have one meeting.
I know,
Yeah, and it's on a Thursday.
and it's the 13th.
Wait a minute, we have a meeting,
Right.
That's why we chose that day.
Yeah, I knew you did.
we have one meeting
Well-
that's on a Thursday?
Well, because we alternate with planning department, so I'm on vacation, the week of school vacation, I'm gonna be gone. And what was the issue?
And it's a short month, so then it runs like, it would be the week.
Hey, sometimes
apart.
it's not a short
Oh,
month.
yeah, so
Well-
chose
4
the,
years, it's not a short month.
I thought we discussed only going with one meeting in February.
right, but it would have been on that Tuesday, the first Tuesday, but this is the second week, it kind of spaces it in the middle of the month. Was that the reason why? No, I'm not remembering, but.
Yeah, and we could do it before, if we do it after, it's super close to
The
the
next
March
one.
meeting.
So we could keep it,
There's a chance I might be gone. If that's school vacation week, I might be gone that week too.
that's not school vacation week.
The winter break?
The
13th.
No, that's,
Following
that's,
weekend.
that's the Thursday
after that.
before.
Oh, okay.
Oh. What? Well, let's revisit that. I think I leave that day, sorry. No, I'm not.
You want to get back to us on that?
Yeah, sorry.
That's too far in advance, I'm glad where I'm gonna be.
Maybe we keep it February 4th then, that would be the first Tuesday. I forgot about that.
That's fine.
It's too expensive to fly on the Saturday of school vacation
ain't
week,
kidding.
so we're leaving on Thursday.
Yeah.
It's
Smart.
almost half the cost, so.
Oh, God.
All right, we'll send out an email and we'll discuss it. We'll figure out via email, so won't worry about that. All right, never mind. Sorry.
Check that off. What else?
31 South Shore Drive, that was the orders of conditions we issued for the ongoing court case that was resolved this
yeah.
year out there.
Yeah.
You probably got the email because you were at the site visit,
Yeah.
but DEP did issue superseding orders of conditions for that project.
Yeah.
That
Was-
came in last week, I think.
We look pretty good.
Yeah, she even used some of our conditions, which are nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I have no
Yep.
problem with it.
So, right, so she does name, you know, if they have to go through the process with DEP now, there are some things that they have to provide us and keep us in the
Yeah.
loop, but it's pretty much in DEP's hands to oversee the project at this point, so. He does have that approval. I was contacted by the property owner it was the same day, actually, that the orders of conditions came out, prior, asking about setting up, if he could put his silt fence and things like that in, which I said, I can't give any approval for anything at this time. It's in DEP's hands. You should contact them and see if they'll allow you to at least get that set up if he's planning on still doing work. So he must have contacted them, and the permit came out right after that, so.
Yeah, great.
All right. Grand Trunk Trail.
Steve Bissett did a good job on that, too. You know,
Yeah.
it's hard to work with warring parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Grand Trunk Trail, this is the section that will go from the Ed Calcutt Bridge over the Quinebaug River, off of River Road, all the way to Farquhar Road. It's been put on hold for a long time because of Mass DOT funding. We've been having some meetings with Eastern Federal Lands, who is now going to be overseeing this project. It's where the funds had to go. It's a long, boring story, but that's going to be ramping up. We're having another meeting coming up on that, working with, so the reason I'm talking about it is 75 Farquhar Road is conservation property in your care and custody.
Yep.
And that's where the trail's going to be going through.
Yep.
The delineation's historic on that. It's like over 10 years old, so been
Way
helping,
over,
yeah,
yeah.
I've been helping Trails Committee. We got a couple of proposals to have a wetland delineation be done out there. The delineation will also be on the opposite side of the road, which we're very familiar with, that 72
Yeah.
Farquhar, the edge of the pond, and that stream that runs through OSV's property. It's 9 River Road. So I've been working on that, helping with them on that. We'll probably be waiting at this point now till spring to have that redelineated, and then that project should be moving forward with permitting
That's
this coming
excellent.
year, which will be great, so.
I think there's dispute over ownership of the land by the owner next door to that property.
That little portion.
Yeah, I think he's been using our land.
Yeah, that got mentioned before. Tom Chamberlain mentioned that. I think that might have been resolved.
Okay.
But one thing I noted too with that is we'll have to have the survey work done, but I did mention that I know that there was some past history there, and I think it's strange. I think the property line follows a contour line, which may or may not be there, but we'll have to have that delineated too, because the trail will be near there. So
Oh, yeah.
that can help
Yeah.
solve that. It'll be hopefully done, they can delineate our property boundary, the
Yeah.
meets and bounds for us too, which would be nice.
Great.
Heinz property, Kowalski did go out and did a couple sessions out there. Was able to tackle a good portion of it. There's a little bit of funds left, so I was discussing with him,
What's a little bit?
like $900.
Yeah,
Not a little bit, but
yeah.
one of the things he mentions, he kind of flagged the stumps so we'd know going back out there, there's a lot of herbaceous stuff that'll cover it. Maybe we can keep an eye to see if this treatment did work. So I didn't know how you felt about having him go back out maybe in the spring. I did ask for like a follow-up report after he did the work with like a map showing the area that he did end up doing. I know it is, but just to get it on paper for us.
Yep.
And then going back out maybe in the spring.
We should,
In the summer.
we should visit that exact site.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, going back out and you can do a follow-up
See what it
first to
looks
see if
like.
it worked.
Exactly.
And giving us a couple reports on that, but right, we can do a site visit. He wanted us to go out there this fall and look at it, but.
And our snowshoes?
Right, yeah, at this
Yeah.
point.
Good.
So, right, it'd be a couple billable hours for going out, looking at it, and writing a report for us. And then maybe if there's a little bit of funds left, at that point, maybe looking at a foliar spray of that area to attack like more of that herbaceous, not the big woody stuff, so. Do you approve of
What?
the use of those funds for that?
What spray?
A foliar spray, that's what he did for you out there a few years ago with Glenn.
Yeah.
Did a foliar spray
I
with
kind of like
Ginkgo.
I like the painting on the,
Yeah, but you can't do the small stuff like that, I guess, like the
Right.
bittersweet and multiflora rose and stuff like that, so you gotta kind of,
you got
unfortunately.
Russian olive. Why would you bother with anything else? the Russian olive is so pervasive.
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
It's
Well,
really
the bittersweet
bad.
the bittersweet out there is taking over the trees too.
Yeah,
Make wreaths.
It is.
have to do that.
It kills all the trees.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could talk about it at that point, but
Yeah.
I like the idea of knowing if this was a successful treatment or not. I think it's
Yes.
important.
I
So-
agree with
I
that.
agree. Yeah, it would be.
I think that's all I have.
So Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Wow.